Mike Tyson were the two most famous athletes in the world, and they both happened to attend the birthday party of Richard Dent, the all-pro defensive end for the Chicago Bears. Iron Mike was sipping on his favorite drink, the Long Island iced tea, and if you know anything about cocktails, you know that Long Island is full of alcohol and can F you up real quick. Soon enough, Tyson got MC hammered and became the loudest, most emotional, and most intense person in the room. He started staring at Jordan and yelled out, "Hey, you think I'm stupid? I know you messed with my wife." Tyson's wife at the time was an actress, Robin Givens, with whom he had a tumultuous and volatile relationship and was crazy jealous when it came to her. Jordan had dated Givens before Tyson, and once Tyson started saying that he'll beat him up in front of everybody, MJ looked like he had seen a ghost. Jordan was a 6'6" athletic demigod and wasn't afraid of contact on the basketball floor, but he wanted no part of Tyson, and he couldn't get out of there fast enough. Scared of Mike, Michael quickly left the party and probably saved himself from a brutal ass-whooping. Used a fake penis to pass a drug test. Mike was undersized as a heavyweight at 5'10", with a 5'11" reach, but on the other hand, he was extremely fast and built like a tank. When you look at his physique and how jacked and shredded he was in his prime, it's easy to think that he used PEDs, especially since the late 80s were the golden era of anabolic steroids. But according to Tyson, who was always extremely honest about what he did and didn't do, he never took anything to increase his performance. Because he was already super strong as a 15-year-old teenager, I tend to believe Tyson on this one. Dude was just a freak of nature. He was naturally strong, and he trained like a maniac. Still, Tyson was far from clean when it comes to drugs. They just weren't for enhancing performance, at least not in the ring. The rise of Tyson's career also coincided with the rise of Pablo Escobar's career. Mike didn't need Rick James to tell him that cocaine is a hell of a drug. He found that on his own. To pass the obligatory drug tests before his fights, Mike used a fake rubber penis, which supposedly looked exactly like a real thing. He filled the prosthetic penis with his child's urine and never failed a drug test until very late in his career. In 2000, he could not get his hands on the fake penis from his team before the testers arrived, so he tested positive for marijuana after fighting Andrew Galata. Caught Brad Pitt with his wife. This story is also tied to Robin Givens, but it happened after Mike and the actress divorced in 1989. Even though they were separated at the time, Mike and Robin were still doing it, as LL Cool J would say. One night, Mike's crazy sexual appetite left him restless, and he desperately wanted to scratch that itch. He drove to Robin's house, thinking that he would get lucky and sneak in a quickie, only to find that Robin wasn't home. So he decided to wait for her in his Lamborghini Countach. When she finally arrived in her BMW, he saw that she's driving some blonde guy in the passenger seat. Mike went from wanting to nut to completely nuts in a matter of seconds. He confronted them, wanting to kill whoever was with Robin. But even he was surprised to see that his ex-wife's new date was Brad Pitt. Brad was scared to death to see Mike there, as any person would be at that moment. But Mike didn't want to fight him. Heartbroken, he just went to his car and turned home. Disappointed, he wasn't going to get any that night. Got a prison officer pregnant while in jail. Tyson's sexual appetite was insatiable, and he was extremely popular with women in his heyday. As one woman told Jamie Foxx, who hung out with Mike Tyson in the 90s, "There's something really attractive about a man that can beat up everybody on the planet and is worth hundreds of millions of dollars." Iron Mike had bedded many famous women in the 80s and the 90s, but his lower head and high testosterone would often get him in trouble. In 1992, Tyson was convicted of rape and sentenced to 6 years in prison, although he always denied that he was guilty. If you think that his sexual exploits suffered when he was locked up, think again. In fact, Tyson bragged that he slept with more women when he was in prison than when he was free. He used conjugal visits to the fullest, and there were up to 15 women a day coming to see Mike and his non-prosthetic penis. Mike also seduced a woman who was a drug counselor in jail, offered her $10,000, and she's been visiting him regularly ever since. He eventually got her pregnant, but the baby was never born. Beat up Don King. After he became world champ and arguably the most famous athlete on the planet, Mike seemingly had everything: money, fame, and women. But he lived a debauched lifestyle that was not suited for an athlete, and he soon began to crumble. He divorced Robin Givens, his manager Bill Caton left him, and the infamous Don King came in his place. King and Tyson had an extremely volatile relationship. The manager was stealing money from Tyson, and Mike believes he swindled him for over $100 million. In 2003, Mike was driving with Don King in a car on a highway in Miami. Don was in the front seat, Mike in the back, snorting cocaine. Suddenly, he became infuriated with Don and kicked the driver's seat with his leg. Don's driver stopped immediately, while Mike tried to beat up Don from the back seat. Smartly, The crazy-haired manager got out of the car, and Mike did the same, trying to chase him down. They ran around the car for a second, and then Don jumped back in. The driver started the car, and they drove off, leaving Mike stranded in the middle of the highway. Almost killed Mitch Green in a street fight. Mitch Green was once one of the most prospective boxers in the world, ranked number 2 in the world. Green was scheduled to fight for the title if he defeated then a 20-year-old Tyson in 1986, but Tyson won their bout via unanimous decision. After that, Mike fought for the title and became a champion, while Green's career went down the drain as he was released from his contract and didn't fight again until 1993. More than 2 years after their fight in the ring, Mike Tyson and Mitch Green met again, this time on the streets of Harlem. Still angry at Tyson and blaming him for his career, or lack thereof, Mitch wanted payback. Green found out that the undisputed champ was in his neighborhood and went to confront him about the money he claimed he was owed from Don King. It did not end well for him. Mike repeatedly knocked him down and punched him, but Green got up every time because he was probably drunk and high as a kite. Then, Mike grabbed his head and smacked it against the concrete, and Mitch just kept laying there bleeding. Scared that he might have killed him, Tyson ran away. Thankfully, Mitch survived, and he later sued Tyson for $25 million, but eventually, they settled for far less. Beat up 7 prostitutes. The setting was a hotel suite in Vegas. The year was 2009. The protagonist was Mike Tyson, and with him in the scene were 7 women, most likely all escorts. Additional props were Viagra, cocaine, marijuana, morphine, and Hennessy, the whole 9 yards. The drama started unfolding once Mike started consuming everything we just named. He started getting messed up thoughts. He believed that the women were going to rob him and set him up. I started beating them. I was in a dark place. There was a purpose though, because I didn't want to give them any more of my soul. I kicked them all out of the room, Tyson said in what was one of the lowest points of his life.
His face is recognized all over the world, the young medical student who became a revolutionary icon. But was Che Guevara a heroic champion of the poor or a ruthless warlord who left a legacy of repression?
Order, order. Hey, where have I seen that guy before?
Ahem. Your Honor, this is Ernesto Che Guevara. In the early 1950s, he left behind a privileged life as a medical student in Argentina to travel through rural Latin America. The poverty and misery he witnessed convinced him that saving lives required more than medicine. So he became a terrorist seeking to violently overthrow the region's governments.
What?
The region's governments were brutal oligarchies. Colonialism may have formally ended, but elites still controlled all the wealth. American corporations bought up land originally seized from indigenous people and used it for profit and export, even keeping most of it uncultivated, while locals starved.
Couldn't they vote to change that?
Oh, they tried, Your Honor. In 1953, Che came to Guatemala under the democratically elected government of President Arbenz. Arbenz passed reforms to redistribute some of this uncultivated land back to the people while compensating the landowners. But he was overthrown in a CIA-sponsored coup. The military was protecting against the seizure of private property and communist takeover. They were protecting corporate profits. And Che saw that they would use the fear of communism to overthrow any government that threatened them.
Michael, welcome to the White House.
This is the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan, and Michael Joseph Jackson. 1984, Michael Jackson.
For Michael Jackson brings a thrill a minute to his millions of fans.
We have quite a few young folks in the White House
is
who
this
all wanted me to give
relating
you the same message.
the
They said to
drinking
tell
age?
Michael, please give some TLC to the PYTs.
So this is not just a footnote in history. It actually connects, in a weird way,
Yeah.
to the reason that you have to be 21